During the MET program, I was introduced, sometimes for the first time, to various educational standards. Every artifact I created during this time would fall into one or more categories that represented different standards. I believe learning about content knowledge standard helped me understand how much time and effort goes into producing a quality learning material. Apart from some technical manuals, I never produced any of those resources, so those exercises were really an eye-opening experience for me. Enjoy my presentation.
For this video, I will focus on AECT Standard 1, Content Knowledge. Content knowledge is a standard for which candidates demonstrate the knowledge necessary to create, use, assess, and manage theoretical and practical applications of educational technologies and processes. Here's the presentation of many artifacts I produced to address creating, evaluating, managing, and ethics standards. Addressing every substandard of content knowledge made me a much more informed technologist and a much better educator. Almost all of the artifacts were created with the familiar theme, technology, since that's what I'm mostly comfortable with. I created WebQuest and Virtual Field Trip Activity, which addressed, at the least, Standard 1.2, creating. I also created Jigsaw and Copyright Scavenger Hunt, which taught me about using Quality Matters, and G Suite for Education that focused on evaluating, Response to Requests for Proposal that focused on managing, and Netiquette Activity which addressed ethics. For this video, I would like to address Standard 1.3, Assessing and Evaluating. For this standard, I created two artifacts, Quality Matter Rubric and G Suite for Education. Quality Matter Rubric introduced me to evaluation of an online course for adults. I took a role of a student and carefully examined Quality Matter Rubric standards for this course, and came to a final conclusion of quality of the course. The second artifact was evaluating my own course, which I prepared evaluation materials for. While my pilot users were more than satisfied with this course, once I got to production, my course received some negative feedback from our administrators and business staff. It goes without saying that I became aware that my course did not fully address different demographics, and it taught me a lesson of how quality of online course design definitely depends on careful analysis of audience.
In this portion of my video, I would like to address Standard 2, Pedagogy. Pedagogy is not something that I often come across since I am technically not an educator and I am not in the classroom. Most of the time that I've spent in a classroom was with high school and adult teachers, not necessarily teaching, but mostly mentoring them. I do see this at home a lot with my own kids, and I was really interested in see how I can implement the work that I've done into my job. Towards the end, I actually did use a lot of knowledge that I acquired during the activities and artifacts that we did to create an adult learning course that addressed Standard 2.5, which was ethics. Enjoy the slideshow.
For this video, I will focus on AECT Standard 2, Content Pedagogy. Standard 2 aligns with the idea that candidates develop as reflective practitioners able to demonstrate effective implementation of educational technologies and processes based on contemporary content and pedagogy. Through the MET program, I was required to produce many artifacts that address content pedagogy. And just like the content knowledge was addressed creating, using, evaluating, managing, and ethics standards. Again, I would like to present artifacts I chose for this particular standard. You can see 2.1 Creating Artifacts Moodle Online Design Framework, G Suite for Education Design Document, 2.2 Standard Using Education, 2.3 Assessing Evaluating Artifact for School Evaluation, and 2.4 Managing Artifact Technology Evaluation Product. For this video, I would like to address Standard 2.5, Ethics. Candidates design and select media, technology, and processes that emphasize the diversity of our society as a multicultural community. Artifact I used for this standard was creating an online course for adult learners in Moodle. This artifact reflected and enhanced my experience and findings while creating an online course for adult learners. While my course focused only on adult learners, I was able to create a course with a diverse set of learners in mind. My course entertained users of different knowledge, backgrounds, and experience with online education. Being a woman in technology, adult learner, and an English second language speaker, I hoped for all of our benefit that I covered all of my bases when I created this course. This artifact, as well as reading associated with this course, offered this perspective that enhanced my sensitivity not to miss those important connections with our students.
Welcome to Standards 3, Learning Environments. This was definitely one of my favorite standards and most personal to me because I often find myself visiting different schools where different types of learning are experienced by either an elementary students, middle school students, or high school students, and also depending on a school site or a particular individual teacher. For this particular standard, I was more interested in ethics portion of it, where I created a plagiarism video and etiquette video. Plagiarism video addressed many different types of issues that can rise from not following directions on how to cite work, and etiquette portion where I addressed online etiquettes. So those were definitely two of my favorite artifacts as well, and the rest is in the following presentation. Enjoy.
For this video, I will focus on AECT Standard 3, Learning Environments. This particular standard states, candidates facilitate learning by creating, using, evaluating, and managing effective learning environments. I produced many artifacts that address learning environment standard, and here are some of them. I present to you IT Bootcamp, a very large artifact for Standard 3.1, Creating, and Standard 3.2, Using. I also present Technology Evaluation Project for Standard 3.3 that was used for assessing evaluating, Technology Use Planning Overview for Standard 3.4, Managing, as well as creating an online course for adult learners in Moodle for Standard 3.6, Diversity. I will address Standard 3.5 Ethics and corresponding artifacts next. 3.5 Ethics. Candidates foster a learning environment in which ethics guide practice that promotes health, safety, best practice, and respect for copyright, fair use, and appropriate open access to resources. For this standard, I chose two different artifacts, plagiarism video, but I didn't cheat, and an etiquette page. Both of those artifacts focused on best practices while creating a safe and honest learning environment, such as use of proper citing, copyright, fair use, and online etiquette. Standard 4, Professional Knowledge and Skills. This standard focuses on technology-rich learning environments within a supportive community of practice and its connection to collaboration, leadership, reflection, assessing, evaluating, and ethics. I really enjoyed learning about the standard since many of the aspects used in the classroom to support the standard could easily be transformed in any work environment. Learning about this standard also tremendously expanded my knowledge in an effective online course design using different technologies. In this part, I will focus on AECT Standard 4, Professional Knowledge and Skills. Professional Knowledge and Skills is a standard for which candidates design, develop, implement, and evaluate technology-rich learning environments within a supportive community of practice. Here is the presentation of many artifacts I produced to address collaboration, leadership, reflection, assessing, evaluating, and ethics. Those artifacts are G Suite for Education 101, an online course which addressed Standard 4.2 Leadership. Multiple Entry Learning Log that addressed Standard 4.3 Reflection and Practice. This learning log followed my educational journey through a few different classes. School Artifacts addressing Standard 4.4 Assessing, Evaluating, and a digital divide that reflects Standards 4.5 Ethics. I will address Standard 4.1 Collaborative Practice artifacts separately in detail next. Standard 4.1 refers to collaborative practice. Candidates collaborate with their peers and subject matter experts to analyze learners, develop and design instruction, and evaluate its impact on learners. For this standard, I created two artifacts, School Technology Plan and Maturity Benchmark Survey. The first artifact was created in collaboration with another student in my class, Suzanne. For this assignment, I brought in technical experience, while Suzanne has experience in administration and curriculum. Cross-field collaboration played an important part in quality of the final product. Second artifact was created in collaboration with the same student. Again, we brought different skills and knowledge to the table. I really enjoyed working with Susan throughout this course, and I believe she affected my learning in a positive way. Standard 5, Research. This standard focuses on applying methods of inquiry to enhance learning and improve performance. This standard was the most difficult for me to fully understand. Once I gained understanding of each component of the standard, I noticed that I've been using majority of those components without even realizing it. Learning about this standard expanded my knowledge of different learning theories and research methodologies, which I happily applied to my assignments for this course. In this part, I will focus on AECT Standard 5, Research. Research is a standard for which candidates explore, evaluate, synthesize, and apply methods of inquiry to enhance learning and improve performance. Here is the presentation of many artifacts I produced to support this standard and its components, which are theoretical foundations, method, assessing, evaluating, and ethics. Artifacts I'm presenting here are Connectivism and Online Learning, Writing, which addresses Standard 5.1, Theoretical Foundations, Technology Evaluation Project, which addresses Standard 5.3, Assessing and Evaluating, and Satisfaction Survey, which addresses Standard 5.4, Ethics. I will next address Standard 5.2, Method. I will address those artifacts separately and in detail next. Standard 5.2 Method states, candidates apply research methodologies to solve problems and enhance practice. For this standard, I created two artifacts, Satisfaction Survey and Annotated Bibliography. For the first artifact, I used data collection method, survey, to collect data necessary for product implementation evaluation. This survey was created with 3 different groups in mind, administrators, teachers, and students. Survey was sent to over 3,500 users, and I received almost 700 responses. Data collected was very valuable and gave me a much better picture of how successful this implementation actually was. My second artifact was Annotated Bibliography, that focused on research that included different writing materials. I gave example of credible resources as well and ways to cite those materials properly. Method Standards was new and exciting standard for me, and I believe it gave me tools to do my job better.